Namaskar and good evenings. Greetings to all from India. We are about to begin our meeting. We request all the participants to please keep your mobile phones on silent mode. Also, kindly keep your microphones on mute. Please unmute only when speaking. This will help us conduct the session quietly. Thank you so much. Director General CSIR, the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Dr. N. Kalaiselvi, members of the organizing committee, Dr. Ramvish Sharma, Dr. K.J. Sriram, Professor Ranjana Agarwal, Professor Pradeep Raman Charla, and Dr. Abhay Pashilkar, distinguished speakers, dignitaries, and participants from India and from across the world. Namaskar. Wish you all a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. After an enormous success of the CSR scientific sessions in the Science Summit at UNGA 77, CSR is back with the second series. I welcome you all to our science session named CSR India, an innovation hub for global sustainable development. CSR has been contributing significantly to the industrial, societal, economic growth of India for more than 8 decades now. It has helped the country overcome many challenges and crises. CSR has been immensely contributing to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The session, CSR India, an innovation hub for global sustainable development, will briefly showcase our S&T interventions and solutions contributing to the UN SDGs. The two-day event would encompass 5 scientific sessions and a panel discussion. Day 1, which is today, will start with a deep dive into CSR's vast experience and capabilities by Dr. N. Kalaiselvi, Director General of CSIR. Our first woman Director General is also the Secretary to Government of India, Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. This will be followed by 3 scientific sessions with the theme Sustainable Utilization of Resources. 12 presentations will be made by most eminent experts in 3 topical sessions on green energy and mobility, chemicals and sustainable materials, and exploration and sustainable unearthing of treasures. The sessions will be moderated by a chair and a co-chair. There will be about 10 minutes discussion and Q&A break after every topical session. Participants may type their questions in the Q&A box. Also, they can raise their hands during the Q&A time. Day 2 event, which is scheduled on 28th of September at 4:30 p.m. IST, the same time like today. The scientific session will focus on societal and rural development effort of CSIR. It will showcase our interventions through 8 presentations by distinguished speakers on 2 topics, namely affordable healthcare for global society and rural development and traditional knowledge from hamlets to industries. The meeting will conclude with a panel discussion focused on innovations for global sustainable development, which would summarize the discussions and deliberate on the future priorities and significance of international collaborations for global sustainable development. The event aims to acquaint the global S&T fraternity with some technology strengths of CSIR, its technology-based solutions, and their applications for societal welfare, as also to foster global collaborations. We are certain that this informative and interactive meeting will be immensely useful for the global scientific community, startups, industry, policymakers, global think tanks, and other stakeholders working towards global sustainable development. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome you all to this event and request our Director General, the head of CSR family, Dr. N. Kalaiselvi, to please inaugurate the event.
Thank you, Dr. Rama. Namaskar, and a pleasant morning, afternoon, and evening to all of you. I'm extremely happy to be a part of this very important event, which really deals about the sustainable developments. And we from India, we're extremely happy to join this event along with many of our CSIR laboratory leaders and the researchers who will be just sharing their ideas on the area in which they are really doing pioneering research. And friends, as all of you know, CSIR is a great organization, the innovation engine of the great country called India. And the country today is now getting ranked as a developing country. But we are very, very optimistic that days are not so far off, that India is going to be the developed country well within another 1 decade, or in the worst case, in another 1.5 decades. And knowingly and cautiously, all of us are getting ourselves geared up. To what extent from the science and technological area we can contribute to the country, by means of which the country can do justice not only for the self-reliance, but also for making global impacts. Our recent success in space research clearly demonstrates the capabilities of Indian science and technology that can really get acceptance in the global scenario. And we wish to prove that even in other areas of science and technology also, our country can really come up with a number of success stories which will be getting global acceptance. And in this kind of a travel and in this kind of a dedicated effort, we strongly believe we, as not only as India as an individual country, I think when we just get support from other countries also, scientific fraternity from other countries, I think we can synergistically share our knowledge, share our capabilities, talents, ideas, suggestions, work, by means of which I think we will be able to come up with globally impacting innovations, by means of which the entire globe can really get the benefits out of science and technology. It is with that kind of intention this sort of exercise is being done. And I'm very happy that we from CSIR, as many of you are aware, we are working under 8 thematic areas. So the 8 thematic areas, they cover whatever is there under sun and on earth. And now we started thinking beyond sun and below the earth also. So whether it is oceanographic science or atmospheric science or metallurgy or materials or aerospace or chemicals or healthcare or food, nutrition, agri, biotechnology, whichever way you say, I think in all these areas, we have a minimum of 3 to 5 laboratories who are dedicatedly working in those thematic areas. And apart from these laboratories, a minimum of another 5 to 6 laboratories will be really doing value adding all the scientific and research outputs. So it is with that kind of a thing recently we have taken up our serious efforts mainly to value add the sustainable development goals. Today in this country, it is not an exaggerated version. Even a common man is made aware of what are sustainable development goals. So sustainable development goals, SDG 1 to 17, is now made aware of almost to every citizen of the country. And we from CSIR, the scientific fraternity, we also align our the focus area of our research mainly to value add and strengthen at least a minimum of 1 or 2 sustainable development goals that have been already committed and agreed upon by this country. And therefore, friends, whether it is zero hunger or whether it is doubling the farmer's income, many of you will be really excited to know, especially the non-Indian participants, you will be excited to know that recently we launched an e-tractor. So this e-tractor is again a great boon to Indian farmers. And we are coming up with a series of announcements in other areas also, be it energy or healthcare or chemicals. This is the first time we are coming up with Indian footwear sizing, because this is again a very revolutionary step that CSIR has taken up. In healthcare, again, we have taken more than enough importance to address and mitigate sickle cell anemia. And also our genome editing and CRISPR-Cas technology is also taking different, I would say, avatars through various science and technological interventions by different laboratories. So our Q-plane activities and our Hansa NG, next generation Hansa, which is a sport flying, hobby flying, pilot training aircraft. So everywhere the indigenized technology is now getting celebrated for its global acceptance also. So it is in that particular reference, I'm extremely happy that different leaders from CSIR laboratories, various CSIR laboratories, and leaders of the research group are here to share more details about what is it that they do, and with a kind of an objective to meet out the requirements of the globe as a whole, and to what extent they are now getting geared up with a kind of an action plan, and what is the kind of collaboration or a support they really seek from other countries, and what are our strong areas, and what are the gray areas which are remaining as such in general, wherein the consolidated and concerted effort from every one of us is required. I think all these points are going to be brainstormed and discussed during the technical session. So I think towards the end of this technical session, I'm sure the team CSIR will be able to list out that these are the areas in which we will be joining hands with A, B, C, D kind of countries and research groups. And this is the timeline in which we will take up these challenges. And all these challenges will be considered as opportunities. And we will soon come up with the kind of a success track record, maybe in another 1 year or 1.5 years, or worst case, another 2 years. I think with that kind of deep dive discussions, with that kind of an objective, my teams, those who are sitting with me, they are here to listen to all the proceedings. But all of you should really excuse me because I have another very important meeting at the Prime Minister's office, and therefore I'll be leaving soon. But all my representatives are here who will be definitely carrying the message to me. And from CSIR, I assure you that whichever way the science and technology needs to be strengthened, whichever way the team CSIR's support should be extended, and whichever way we can further think about strengthening our collaboration, CSIR is open for all these kinds of options. So please make us to understand how best we can synergize our efforts and we can come out with a kind of globally impact-making success stories in science and technology. With these few words, I thank each and everyone for the opportunity given, and I'm very happy to inaugurate this particular event, and I look forward to listen to the main essence of all the proceedings which are going to happen. Thank you so very much. Have great times ahead.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your encouraging words on Indian science and also on CSIR science and scientists. The aspirations you have from CSIR and also from this particular meeting, we will try to follow your recommendations and come out with a specific way forward from the scientific sessions, which will be held on 2 days, today and on 28th of September. Thank you very much, ma'am, once again.
Thank you.
So with this, we will now begin our scientific sessions. The first topical session on green energy and mobility will be chaired by Dr. K. Ramesha. Dr. Ramesha is our director of CSIR Central Electrochemical Research Institute, which is the largest institute in South Asia dedicated to research and innovations in electrochemical science and technologies. Dr. Ramesha's area of specialization is materials for energy storage, particularly for lithium-ion batteries and other futuristic energy storage devices, such as sodium-ion, lithium sulfur, lithium air, and solid-state batteries. With this, I hand over the stage to Dr. Ramesha. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the viewers. And this session, we have 5 speakers who will be going to talk the various different spectrum of energy technologies developed by CSIR. So, from the solar energy tapping to battery energy storage, and then followed by the our EV implementation in the not only the public sector but even including the strategic sector. And we also there was a talk on hydrogen as in the future fuel. And we are also going to present to you the collaborative technology development between CSIR and our one of the our collaborative industry KPIT, where we have developed hydrogen fuel cell driven vehicle. So with this short introduction, I will first I will request Dr. S. Gopinath, outstanding scientist, CSIR NCL, to give the first presentation based on strengthening R&D ecosystem to meet India's green hydrogen ambitions. Over to you, sir.
Dr. Ramesha, Ashish Lele here. You may want to go to the next speaker because we have had a net connectivity issue. Gopinath will be just joining in another 5 minutes. The next speaker can come up first.
Okay, sir, no problem. So next speaker is Dr. S. Prakash, Senior Principal Scientist from CSIR Sikri. His work is basically on batteries and next generation battery systems. He's going to talk on powering the future, a comprehensive update on the development status of CSIR battery technologies. Prakash.
Thank you, Dr. Ramesha. Yeah. Is my slide visible?
Yes, go ahead, Prakash.
Good afternoon and good evening. Is it in full screen mode now? Oh, it's fine. Yeah. As we all know that we are, CSIR is working on many battery technologies, storage technologies, and battery technologies have been seriously pursued in CSIR. So CSIR has done a lot of development on the various battery technologies, and here it is to give an update on where we are in terms of various battery technology, which are for several applications, including EVs and storage and so on. So. Yeah. So these are the various battery technologies CSIR has been working on. CSIR is working both on the established technologies like lithium-ion batteries, as well as also on upcoming technologies like sodium-ion batteries, solid-state batteries, lithium sulfur batteries, and metal air batteries. These are the next generation storage technologies, and then the redox flow batteries. So these are the technologies where CSIR has made the progress. And in terms of lithium-ion batteries, we have reached TRL level 6. So we have this is an established technology globally, and CSIR has started. We have an indigenous technology for both the active material production as well as for cell fabrication. We have a critical IP and freedom to operate for in this area of technology, and we have reached energy density of 200 watt-hour per kg in, for lithium batteries, which are on par with the global benchmark of any commercial established manufacturers. And on sodium battery technology is very relevant to India, as many of the lithium is segregated at very few geological parts, like South American countries and so on. Sodium is plenty available all over the globe, and this could be very interesting, and this technology could be complementary to lithium battery technology. We have an indigenous technology, and several components like cathode material, anode, electrolyte have been IP protected, and we have advanced chemistries, and presently we have reached the energy density of 100 watt-hour per kg for sodium batteries. We are at the TRL level of 5 for sodium. And on the solid state batteries, these are the next generation storage technology, where it is mostly in the R&D level. I can say it is in between 2.5 to 3 in a small level cells. Here we are looking at both the solid state electrolytes as well as polymer composites and polymer based ionic conducting electrolytes, and these are close to expected to give energy density of 400 watt per kg. In terms of lithium sulfur, several components have been indigenously developed, and we have made CSIR has done pouch level demonstration, and typically these are of energy density of 450 watt-hour per kg. And on the metal air batteries, several components here. We are working on lithium air, aluminum air, zinc air, and magnesium air. These are the various technologies we are working, and there are important IP on the cathode for metal air batteries, and energy density can be as high as 600 watt per kg. So here we are at tier level 3. These are things which are in mostly in the R&D level, which are kind of transition to the bigger scale. And redox flow, it is kind of established. We are working on zinc bromide bromine or zinc iodine, or metal systems like zinc manganese or zinc cerium or zinc vanadium system. And this technology has been demonstrated from few watt hour to few kilowatt hour level. So typically about a 3 to 4 kilowatt hour level has been demonstrated, and energy density, it can vary from 20 to 40 watt hour per kg per liter, depending on what kind of systems we use and so on. So these are the various technologies CSR developed. So for the lithium batteries, the CSR approach is mining to lithium battery recycling, because where we have where we don't have critical materials like we are looking at this approach for critical minerals, and we also and then to make the battery actives and use these battery actives to make battery materials. We are trying to kind of create a CSR is working with several Indian industries to create a complete ecosystem for lithium battery manufacturing. And as you know that even if there is a small penetration of a EV of about 30%, it accounts to even 100% EV penetration by 2030. And several Indian industries, I give here various industries and their expected manufacturing capacity by 2030. So these are the various Indian industries which are spread across the country, which are gearing up to meet this kind of demand. So, and then in CSIR, to kind of bring this technology and of the Indian industries, we have been translated from laboratory level to pilot level, and CSR has created the state-of-the-art facility for technology translation from lab level to pilot scale manufacturing. We have a complete automated pilot level facility for battery manufacturing. We are making 18650 cells. Typically, these cells are about 3 ampere hour, and we make 1000 cells per day. And these things are translated to Indian industries and so on for large scale manufacturing. And then in terms of specification and the benchmark, these are the specifications. We are able to make from 2 ampere hour to 3 ampere hour cells. For the power cells, we are at 2.3 ampere hour. And our cells are able to cycle up to 2C rate, and we are closely matching in various terms of specification. We are closely matching the commercial benchmarks in terms of their gravimetric and volumetric energy densities. Commercial ones are about 205 watt hour per kg. We are close to 192. So we are almost matching the commercial benchmark. And these cells have been demonstrated for several applications, consumer electronics as well as small EVs. It includes power banks and portable applications, and EVs have been validated. These cells have been validated. And CSR strategy is to work with many Indian industries. We work with more than 15-20 Indian industries. We identified the Indian industry competence, and we work closely with them. We do handholding, and for the raw materials like cathode material, anode material, electrolytes, solvents, binders. So we work in several industries, and we have a complete so from cell raw materials manufacturing to component level manufacturing and battery manufacturing using this, and then even the equipment manufacturing for large scale production and DV working with Indian industries. And status of development of the Indian lithium and sodium battery technology, it is critical to make in India batteries, indigenous lithium batteries to be cost of part of the supply chain for
Sorry, I think we got disconnected from Prakash, and maybe we'll connect back. Just sorry for the interruption. So we will just wait for him to come back.
Okay, Prabesha, I am here.
Yeah. Just maybe we'll just wait for Dr. Prakash to come back. Maybe.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If not, then I will switch back to you, sir.
Sure, yeah. Yes.
Mobile is not out of.
Dr. Ramesha, should we move to the next presentation?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe that's the best way, and we'll ask Dr. Prakash to continue maybe later.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
since now Dr. Gopinath is now connected, so we'll request him to make a presentation, next presentation. So Dr. S. Gopinath, outstanding scientist from CSIR NCL, will be speaking on the CSIR strength in the development of R&D ecosystem to meet India's green hydrogen ambitions. So, Dr. Gopinath.
Thank you, Dr. And I request Yatindra to share the slides. I'm also really, I apologize for the technical glitch actually I had. Let me start my talk. The current decade is very, very likely to be the deciding time period of stopping the climate change and possibly contribute efforts to its reversal. So green hydrogen has a huge role in it. Green hydrogen is indeed an attractive fuel, and the efforts are going on at all levels in public institutes as well as private industries across India as well as globe. I want to underscore the expectations are really, really running high from hydrogen. Nonetheless, cost of green hydrogen is a big factor, and this is being discussed across the board, and how to bring down the cost of green hydrogen to the current price of fossil-based fuels is currently happening actually. Many efforts are underway towards achieving the goal of less than $2 a kilogram of hydrogen and subsequently to $1 a kilogram of hydrogen actually. In fact, India have a very, very aspirational goal, and our Honorable Minister for Science and Technology has already announced this hydrogen 212 like many other countries. The first number indicates the hydrogen generation at a cost of less than $2 a kilogram, and storage and distribution, fueling, everything should happen within $1 a kilogram. And then the final number 2 indicates that replacing the fossil technology by hydrogen with return on investment less than 2 years. Can I have the next slide? So there are many challenges ahead actually towards achieving this $1 a kilogram of hydrogen actually. So first and foremost is the core technologies, what is required for both electrolyzers as well as for the fuel cells. So basically many different catalysts needs to be made within the country, and then they scale up. So that's the first thing, membranes and they scale up, and then a lot of interfacial chemistry as well as physics for better performance. Theory, modeling, all those things are very, very really required actually. In fact, this is going to help for the supply chain issues also actually. The next one, Yatindra, next, yeah. So here actually the way importance given to electrolyzer and fuel cell actually, storage and others also needs to be given actually. In fact, CSIR is working on making the cylinders actually that is there. We store the hydrogen, make it as a recyclable with recyclable carbon fibers actually. And then there are many other important things has to happen actually. The next one. So here actually there are many challenges actually we need to attend actually apart from hydrogen. So there are things like artificial photosynthesis for hydrogen as well as for carbon recycling needs to be done actually. and low energy input electrolysis. That means actually can we completely avoid oxygen oxygen evolution reaction actually. So this is a totally different approach actually, because the main the high power required for the water splitting goes mainly for the OER reaction. Actually, can we avoid OER and put a biomass molecule there actually, so that we will able to get both hydrogen as well as value added product. Actually, that's another approach happening across the world as well as in India actually. The third one is actually seawater splitting with real seawater and the suppressed chlorine evolution. This is also happening in CSIR. So there are many challenges are happening, and then the carbon negative way is the best way to go. I mean, even to achieve the net zero goal in a faster way actually, so that we'll also able to use the biomass, wastewater, municipal waste, everything actually. So this is something really we need to work on it actually. The next one. So here actually, yeah, Yatindra, next slide, yeah. So here actually you can see that there is a table actually. This gives the price of the hydrogen per in terms of dollars per kilogram actually. On the left side, what you see is actually the electricity price, that is the renewable electricity price. Right now, actually, India is producing at 2.4 cents a kilowatt actually. And when we reduce the cost to 1 cent a kilowatt, actually, it's going to help a lot actually. In fact, India have an ambition of install the capacity of 500 gigawatts by 2030. Actually, this is going to help the hydrogen production in a very big way. Actually, the top axis indicates the plant cost actually, that is the electrolyzer plant cost actually. When it comes down from the current price of about $800-900 to 500 and then below actually, it's again going to help actually. So here actually the scale of the electrolyzer is going to help in a big way. And then the right axis actually indicates the plant efficiency. Plant efficiency is somewhere around 60 to 75% right now. Actually, it has to improve quite a lot actually. So this is the place where nanoscience and nanotechnology is going to play a big role actually. So there is a lot of research and development efforts are required actually. The bottom axis indicates the plant load factor, where if we depend only on the sunlight based electrolysis actually, so that's not going to help actually. So there the plant load factor cannot go more than 25-30% actually. So when we inject 1 megawatt electricity into the grid actually, we should able to use anywhere, anytime, all the 24 hours across India actually. This is the policy we need to bring it actually. So the next one. So there is a lot of efforts are going on. So there is a lot of scope for our research and innovation and development also actually. So through tech development. The next slide, please. So here actually, what are the operational models we can consider? So this is we need really the rapid translation of ideas into prototypes, as well as commercial products through innovation, through Section 8 companies, startup, MSME sectors, and take the TRL to 9 as fast as possible actually. And then de-risking the technology commercialization through viability gap funding, connecting academia, R&D institute, industry, government agencies. So we need to connect here, and in fact, hydrogen is something we need to work in a mission mode actually. So which has to happen very fast actually. So the next one. So here the scale and speed is really absolutely necessary to make the hydrogen affordable to the common man actually. So that is the only way we will be able to succeed. The next one. Next one. Yeah. So here actually, Yatindra, next one. So these are some of the projects what we are dealing with under CSIR. So all the 3 electrolyzers we are working on it, and storage tank in a recyclable way also we are working. And there are many programs are going on under the CSIR hydrogen technology program. And the last slide shows the success what we have already demonstrated, including a PEM fuel cell and a 9-meter bus runs with a 40 kilowatt fuel cell, and then high temperature PEM fuel cell. So there are many things we have already demonstrated. So let me stop here actually, and I'll be happy to take questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gopinath. So we'll move to the next speaker. That's on from CSIR NIST, Dr. Suraj Soman. He's going to talk on CSIR efforts in developing technologies for tapping solar energy and harvesting solar energy in the areas of photovoltaics through development of dye-sensitive and perovskite solar cells and the breakthroughs which they have been achieved. So the title of talk is Enabling India's Path to Self-Reliance in Photovoltaics through Advancements in Molecular Light Harvesting Technologies pioneered at CSIR. So Dr. Suresh Soman.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Whether the slide is in full screen mode? Whether the slide is visible, sir?
Yes, Suraj, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the participants. So today I will provide a concise overview of the CSIR activities over the past years in the area of emerging photovoltaic technologies, like as I mentioned in the title, as the enabling India's paths to photovoltaic self-reliance through pioneering advances in the molecular light harvesting technologies at CSIR. Actually, over the past year, we have seen that during G20's presidency, we have observed the significant initiatives which are led by our country, India, along with other nations, which are directed towards a green energy paradigm with a focus on achieving net zero emissions and fostering sustainable development in line with the theme of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, which is like one earth, one family, one future. In this context, our esteemed Director General CSIR has also distinctly articulated the CSIR's vision, which we already mentioned in today, which is centered on elevating the quality of the life of the citizens of this country through innovative and sustainable research and development efforts, aligning with the concept of particularly self-reliance and Atmanirbharta. This initiative underway within the CSIR's energy sector, particularly in the field of photovoltaics, are closely aligned both with the national missions of the country and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. CSIR's vision is to establish itself as a global leader in setting benchmarks for scalable and sustainable clean energy technologies, thereby contributing to the energy sector and to foster a global energy hub platform for the future. In contrast to the conventional first and second generation technologies, the third generation molecular photovoltaic technologies present significant advantages in terms of localized manufacturing, cost efficiency, and sustainability. CSIR has been at the forefront of innovation in this domain, beginning with the inception of the TAPSON program way back in 2010. Which was followed by the establishment of the National Network of Institutes within the CSIR, which are dedicated to the solar energy research. And this was followed by various activities like CSIR continues with the fast track translational projects, the fast track commercialization projects, which all finally contribute to the development and progress of these kind of cutting edge technologies. Among the various technologies under the consideration over the past years, the main focus on the molecular photovoltaic devices has been on the dye-sensitized solar cells, perovskite solar cells, and organic photovoltaics. Efforts were placed actually in optimization of these devices and processes to attain the global competitiveness along with establishing benchmark standards. Additionally, in CSIR, we have undertaken endeavors for import substitution of equipments and in streamlining the supply chain alongside comprehensive manpower training initiatives in these emerging areas with specific target on end user applications like emerging applications like the indoor photovoltaics, building integrated photovoltaics, and newer sectors like that. The process of technology translation actually involves, as we know, like several distinct stages, like commencing with the fundamental R&D, moving towards applied R&D, followed by fabrication, and finally leading to the manufacturing. Each of these phases actually demands a unique set of equipments and resources. And in this context, the development of indigenous equipments and manufacturing capabilities within CSIR holds significant relevance. This initiative played a pivotal role in facilitating the seamless lab to fab transition. The subsequent crucial step involves establishing a robust local supply chain. In pursuit of this goal, various CSIR labs over the years have collaborated through both internal and external projects, which has resulted in the creation of an extensive repository of molecules and materials. And the strategic initiatives is poised to drive the import substitution and has the potential to catalyze future exports, leading to revenue generation. The confidence realized with this indigenous equipment and availability of the local supply chain provided us the flexibility to execute the optimizations of the cells, modules, panels in an extensive way in this emerging area of photovoltaics, leading to the next stage of technology translation. In this context, I would like to highlight one specific activity as an illustration of CSIR's pioneering global research efforts, which involves the development of indigenous indoor light harvesters with the remarkable capacity to recycle and reuse the indoor light, effectively serving as an alternative to the traditional conventional primary batteries, which not only reduces our carbon footprint, but also it reduces the volume of mined raw materials, leading to an improved entire value chain. We have successfully designed innovative prototypes such as the one shown here, which is a battery-free indoor air quality monitoring unit, which is getting powered at the ambient light, which it harvests from its surroundings, demonstrating our commitment towards developing sustainable and self-powered solutions. So looking ahead to the future, CSIR aspires to revolutionize the utilization of the light by integrating solar cells into the life of people in a visually appealing and well-designed manner. This vision involves the creation of off-grid independent power ecosystems within various building elements such as indoor furnitures and facades. Furthermore, we look forward to execute installations in indoor spaces such as airports, metro stations, and also to support the energy needs of innovative and futuristic applications like the one shown here, the urban rooftop farming, and similar developments through the utilization of indigenous, sustainable, and environmental friendly solutions that are both cost-effective and locally manufactured. To realize this, CSIR relies on a business model with three major verticals involving development of IP portfolio of associated materials and systems, development of commercial products that can target for a defendable premium, and finally to develop large-scale manufacturing to meet to the emerging demands. This involves strategic partnerships with suitable industrial collaborators and joint initiatives for product development. In conclusion, CSIR is poised to lead the change in transforming the way we harness the light for the benefit of society and environment, aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through its pioneering efforts in the molecular light harvesting technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suraj Soman, on the next presentation. So now the next speaker. So to achieve Indian target to reach 100% electric mobility by 2030, CSIR has put a tremendous effort in enabling electromobility, not only in the public sector, but even to strategic sector. So those efforts will be presented by the next speaker, Dr. A.C. Pankaj, where NL has developed electric hybrid aircraft Hansa NG, and he is going to present those efforts. Over to you, Pankaj.
A warm welcome to you. Sir, are my slides visible?
Yes.
So our presentation is on the initiative of CSIR to develop an electric aircraft to achieve the green aviation goals of...
Full screen, please. Full screen, please.
Hello. So the main objective... Yeah. So
Dr. Pankaj, your slides are not in presentation mode. Dr. Pankaj?
Yeah. One second.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's okay. It's visible now.
Is it
Please
visible
go on.
now?
Yeah, please go on.
So the main objective is to replace our existing Hansa new generation aircraft, which is an two-seater all-composite aircraft mainly used for ab initio flying, with an equivalent electrical propulsion aircraft. So we intend to replace the existing Rotax engine, which is a 100 horsepower ICA engine, with an equivalent electric powertrain powered by a battery power source, or in the second case as a hybrid variant which will have fuel cell plus battery power source. So the middle pie chart shows you the maximum takeoff weight of the aircraft, which is about 750 kg, and it falls under the JAR VLA certification standards. So this aircraft has an empty weight of about 560 kg with a payload of 150 kg, and the remaining is fuel of 39 kgs. So the existing IC engine, along with its fuel system, propeller, and other accessories, amounts to about a weight of about 168 kgs. If this is replaced by the equivalent powertrain with motor, controller, and all other accessories, with the present estimates, it amounts to about 36 kgs. So the difference between these two, that is about 126 kgs, is available for the power source, be it battery or be it the fuel cell plus the battery for the second variant. So these are some of the figures of the high voltage system and the wiring diagrams. Now coming to the mission profile of the aircraft, which consists of takeoff, climb, cruising at 8,000 feet, descent, and landing. The performance computations for all these phases are carried out, and the required time and the power required for the takeoff, climb, and descent and landing phases is calculated. And then based on the specific energy of the battery, which at present in these calculations is assumed to be 272 watt-hour per kg, we can calculate the weight of the battery available for all these phases. And so the remaining weight would be available for the cruise phase. And based on all these computations, we can calculate the time required and the range of the electric aircraft, which turns out to be about hardly an hour of endurance and the range of about 125 kilometers. So we can see that as in comparison to the fuel powered engines, the electric powered aircraft has a lesser endurance of 1 hour and range due to the limitation of the specific energy of the batteries available in the market. Similarly, the left-hand bottom corner table shows the calculations for the fuel cell plus battery variant. So it is observed that with the increase in the passenger capacity of the aircraft, and as we go more towards more passengers, the fuel powered technologies, the fuel cell powered technologies or the hydrogen powered technologies become more economical and suitable for meeting the green energy goals. This slide shows the design, development, and analysis of the various components of the electric powertrain, that is motor, controller, inverters, and other such components, which is being carried out in collaboration with many laboratories in CSIR, the space organization of the country, and also the private companies of the country. Coming on to the last slide, as we know that the development of such aircraft requires lightweight materials, CSIR has a good deal of expertise in the manufacturing technology and development of critical complex composite co-cured parts. Also, the different analysis like the computational fluid dynamics analysis, the finite element analysis, and the reliability analysis and other complex analysis which is required in the design and development of such aircrafts is available in CSIR. So in conclusion, I would like to state that with the above mentioned capabilities, CSIR intends to develop an electric Hansa to meet the country's green aviation goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pankaj. So the next speaker, from industry KPIT Technologies, he's going to present a combined effort by various CSR institutes and the industry KPIT together. The demonstration of a fuel cell enabled vehicle technology development. So hydrogen for mobility and beyond. So yeah, Mr. Dipesh Gujarati, please.
Yes, thank you. I hope you are able to see my slides in presentation mode.
Yeah.
Are you able to see?
No, it is not in presentation mode. You will have to convert to,
How
yeah, now
about
it is
now?
okay. Now, okay.
Okay, great. And you are able to hear me all right?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much for for this talk. Very happy to represent industry amongst all the esteemed scientists belong to CSIR and various labs under the CSIR umbrella. Through my presentation, what I hope to show is a fine example of industry and research lab collaboration and the kind of efforts, collaborative efforts that can generate the kind of IP and progress in a complex technology like hydrogen fuel cells. So my talk is titled Hydrogen for Mobility and Beyond. I represent KPIT Technologies. Here's a quick overview of the company. We are a 100% automotive focused company with about 12,000 plus employees worldwide. And what we provide is software engineering and integration services to the top Fortune 100 automotive companies in the world. And we have a track record where we have been part of at least 500 production programs, and there are millions of vehicles across the globe that are running on the road with some software component developed by KPIT Technologies. As part of our new focus, we hope to reimagine mobility in a cleaner, smarter, and a safer world. So that's our vision statement that we are working towards. This slide shows our journey in terms of hydrogen fuel cell technologies, which started in mid of 2016. I am happy to share and very proud that we started this journey with two of the foremost CSIR labs, that is National Chemical Laboratories and Central Electrochemical Research Institute. Again, we are very proud to be associated with these two labs even today. So the goal of the project that we started in 2016 was to demonstrate a mid-size passenger car integrated with a fully indigenously developed, designed and developed fuel cell stack and system. Along the way, between 2016 to 2020, that is when we demonstrated the car. CSIR labs, NCL and CSIR, they provided all the fundamental science and materials related research work, and whereas KPIT brought to the table the engineering expertise and market and vehicle understanding to it. And together we were able to build a fully indigenous fuel cell stack based on metal bipolar plates and integrate it onto a mid-size passenger car and demonstrate it with a road trial. Further down in 2021, we scaled up the fuel cell stack and system to power a 9-meter public transport bus, which is something we demonstrated in 2021. Post these two demonstration projects, we have seen a lot of interest. When we started in 2016, automotive was our focus only. However, quite surprisingly, after our 2 demonstrations, we have seen a lot of interest from beyond automotive sector as well, which I will talk about a couple of slides later. In 2022, we won we were awarded 2 projects. One was a high altitude power generation backup application for Indian defense, and we are also right now working on India's first fuel cell powered marine vessel as well. So this has been our journey, and we are glad to have partnered with 2 of the premier CSIR labs in India. Yeah, on the top left, you see the passenger car that we had demonstrated in October of 2020. This was right in the midst of COVID. However, both the teams, they have worked truly hard to make this happen. It was a really complex job to accomplish. However, this just shows that if the right collaborations are made, between industry, research labs, and academia, these kind of complex problems can definitely be solved. On the bottom right corner, you see a picture of the fuel cell powered bus that we had demonstrated in the year 2021. At the center of this slide, you see what we call as a fuel cell system or a fuel cell engine, which is a combination of indigenously designed, developed, manufactured fuel cell stacks, along with what is known as balance of plant, which are all the supporting components that help to run the fuel cell stack. These are some of the applications that we have been working on. The car and the bus is something that I already spoke about. On the top right corner, what you see is a hybrid power supply system. This is essentially to replace a diesel genset and for use at high altitudes in border areas. This is primarily for Indian defense. This consists of solar, wind, battery power, and ultra capacitor backup as well. All of these as hybrid power sources, along with hydrogen fuel cell, which is the primary backup power source. All of this system is packaged in a 20 feet standard shipping container, and we just delivered this about 2 months back to Indian Defense. This project was jointly done between KPIT and L&T Defense for R&D engineers, which is a defense organization. Bottom right, what you see is or would be India's first fuel cell powered marine vessel. It's a passenger ferry boat, which is around 24 meters in length, 100 seater capacity. This we are doing for our customer, which is Cochin Shipyard Limited, and they have shown a keen interest in developing this and scaling this further. As you would already know, marine sector is really pushing hard towards decarbonization, and Cochin Shipyard Limited being at the forefront of this initiative. This project is right now in its final stages of conclusion, and you would soon see this being delivered to our customer and undergo sea trials subsequently by the end of this year. So there are 2 key messages that I wanted to convey through my presentation. First being hydrogen fuel cell is a really complex technology, just for the reason that involves several disciplines, technical and non-technical as well. So there has to be innovation made in terms of new materials, better processes, engineering, thermodynamics, nanotechnology, and on the non-technical side, the better business models and revenue models to scale this technology up. So such complex technologies, it's very difficult for one organization to accomplish. So the right kind of partnerships and collaborations are important, and our collaboration with CSIR labs is one such example of doing it successfully. And the second message I want to put forward is, when we started work on hydrogen fuel cell technology, automotive was the only segment that we were looking at. However, to our pleasant surprise, hydrogen as a fuel shows a lot of promise beyond mobility in various other applications as well. So this is my presentation, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Deepesh Gujarati, for that presentation on collaborative efforts by CSIR Labs and KPIT. Now, Prakash, if you are back, the last two, three slides to present. Prakash, you are there?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'll just share now. Is this slide visible now?
Yeah, go back to where you got disconnected. Yeah, maybe the last couple of slides. Yeah.
Was this was?
Yeah, after that, yes.
Yeah. I have to put it in full screen.
Yeah. Just try to
Is it in full screen?
Yes, go ahead.
On the status of development of lithium battery technologies, it is critical to make in India batteries. Indigenous lithium batteries produced are on par with the global benchmark in terms of their performance. CSIR has been working on that, and then we have almost closed to the commercial benchmark. And it is possible that Make in India batteries be cost competent than the imported from any part of the globe and elsewhere if you create a supply chain or indigenous raw materials and component. On sodium batteries, it could be an alternative to complementary lithium batteries in terms of their performance. And sodium batteries are cost effective, sustainable, and relevant to India, and it could meet the demand for stationary energy storage. And in terms of TRL level, for lithium batteries, we are at TRL level 6, and for sodium ion batteries, we are at TRL level 5. We have various advanced cell chemistries, and we have a few IPs, critical IPs on these technologies, and freedom to operate on cathodes and various components of the batteries. We have a strong IT portfolio and FTO for many components of sodium batteries, and we have indigenous cell technologies. And in terms of scaling up, we have been working on scaling up from laboratory level to semi-production level. A lot of materials have been scaled up to a few kgs. And currently we have reached, in terms of performance, we have reached 200 watt-hour per kg for lithium batteries, and sodium close to 100, as it's 85 to 90 watt-hour per kg. And we have a target to reach sodium batteries with the second generation of 130 to 140 watt-hour per kg. We are in the process of scaling up of this technology, and we will be manufacturing this in a few months, and we have a strong industry collaboration. And on the redox flow,
Prakash, just you can finish within.
On the redox flow, we are, as I said, we have a technical problem, so I'll just say what we are doing. On the redox flow, we have been developed various systems from metal halides like zinc bromine or zinc iodine, and metal systems like zinc bromine, zinc vanadium, zinc cerium, and zinc manganese systems. which are typically we have demonstrated the capabilities up to 2 kilowatt for redox flow batteries. That's our strength, and that's what we did in developments in CSIR. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Prakash. So yeah, now I invite my co-chair, Dr. Ashish Lele, who is actually spearheading the hydrogen program of CSIR to deliver the concluding remarks for this session.
Thank you, Ramesha. Thank you very much. I'm first of all sorry that I suddenly dropped out at the beginning of the session, thanks to an unplanned network disruption. Anyway, I'm here and we've listened to 5 wonderful talks in hydrogen, battery, e-mobility, and indoor photovoltaics. I think what we have also listened to is how industry, academia, industry R&D lab collaborations are able to take technologies from TRL 1.2 all the way to TRL 9. And this is a great example of how things can be done. We need very special purpose vehicles to manage to do this. And we are fortunate in CSIR to have such vehicles such as Nimitly and mission mode programs, which allow us to do the translation of science all the way to TRL 8 or 9. I would like to call for a couple of questions. We don't have much time. If there is anybody who wishes to ask a question, please raise your hand and pose your question. If not, you can print the question on the chat box and we will get back to you either right away or on an email. As of now, I don't really see any open questions on the chat box. Rama and Anand, if you can confirm that.
Any questions? No. No questions, sir.
Not on YouTube, not on Facebook.
Okay, so
And not chat.
yeah, we are already a little delayed, so I don't want to delay the next session. I will wait for 30 seconds. If there are no further questions, we can close this session.
Ashish, there is one question which has just popped up. Are there any collaborations between CSIR and the EU?
Okay, so on the hydrogen area, I can tell you that there are a lot of expressions of interest from various countries in the EU, and a lot of dialogues have already started. A few proposals have been submitted. We are also exploring methods or possibilities to create hydrogen valleys in India. So there are some talks on collaborations on that, and also skill development programs. On the battery side, maybe either Ramesha or Prakash can answer if there are collaborations. I know for sure that both of them are actively collaborating with very prominent European R&D institutes such as the Fraunhofer, for example. If there are any particular project collaborations, maybe Ramesha, you can talk about them.
Yeah, we had some collaboration some time ago with the Fraunhofer laboratories on developing the materials for lithium-ion batteries. So it's under Indo-German project, and also we have a couple of one project which we are working on developing our solid-state batteries also.
On the photovoltaics, indoor photovoltaics, Suraj, any particular collaborations with EU?
Yeah, we do have ongoing collaborations with Uppsala University, with the group of Professor Anders Hagfeldt, and also with the EPFL in Switzerland. And this was actually an ongoing collaboration, and also like the French group, one CNRS group, where CSIR is already having MOUs and understanding with CNRS. So on the background of that, we do have some collaborations which are ongoing in the field of this photovoltaic technologies.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, Dr. Pankaj, would you like to make a comment on that?
So we are having some collaborations, means we are a group in the group for the electric aircraft and mobility with Fraunhofer.
Okay, wonderful. So I think the answers are very clear. There are active collaborations happening between CSIR labs and EU partners. Okay, I think Rama, there are no further questions, and I really do not want to delay the next session, so we could perhaps close this session. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, Dr. Lele and Dr. Ramesha, for chairing and co-chairing this session. Just responding to the question on CSR EU collaboration. Just recently, you've just heard about the topical collaboration through various programs with the EU and also with the countries under the EU jurisdiction. But CSR is also in discussion with the EU for developing an exchange program under MASCA, the Marie Curie Action Program. So this is in the coming. So maybe by next year, we will have it in place. Thank you for that. And now it is time. It is already very late to move on to the next session, the second session on chemicals, bulk and specialty and sustainable materials. It will be chaired by Professor Pradeep Ramancharla and co-chaired by Dr. Srinivasa Reddy. Professor Pradeep is director of CSIR Central Building Research Institute. He has a PhD from University of Tokyo. He is a structural engineer with over 20 years of experience in teaching and research. His area of specialization is nonlinear behavior of structures and earthquake safety assessment of buildings. Dr. Srinivasa Reddy is our director of CSR Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. He's trained as organic chemist and gained experience in mechanical chemistry and drug discovery from pharmaceutical industry. Dr. Reddy is best known for his application-oriented organic synthesis towards human well-being. With this, I would like to hand over the floor to our chair, Professor Ramancharla. Over to you, sir.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Rama. Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the people who are attending this session. So this is session number 2, which is on chemicals, that is bulk and specialty chemicals, and sustainable materials. So I'll just build the background of this session. That is the greatest challenge of our times, that is 21st century, is the climate change. And this climate change is negatively affecting the environment, human health, as well as economy. So this is like we are facing these in terms of extreme weather events like drought, hurricane, heat waves, all that kind of thing, and leading to human discomfort and also increase in heating, cooling demand or GHG emissions, all these things. So there are two main sustainable developmental goals, so dedicated to this area, that is SDG 9 and SDG 11. So the target of these two is to develop, say, climate resilient, safe, sustainable and affordable infrastructure to support economic development. And by 2030, there are targets to retrofit the existing infrastructure. And the second, that is SDG 11, is to set the target to reduce the adverse per capita environmental impact of cities. So this session will focus on these items. So we have 3 speakers in this session. So I'll just introduce 2 speakers. So Dr. Anandavalli, who is the director of like CSIR Structural Engineering Research Center. She has a PhD from College of Engineering, Guindy, and she is a first rank holder in PG and won Rao Bahadur Subhacharya Gold Medal in her undergraduate. And her research interests are the blast response behavior of structures, computational methods, sustainable materials. And she is member of several Bureau of Indian Standard committees on blast resistant design of structures and also special structure sectional committee. And another speaker is Dr. Krishna Vatsa, who is a member of National Disaster Management Authority. So he has a vast experience of over 25 years in disaster risk reduction. So prior to joining NDMA, Shri Krishnavatsa worked as a policy advisor, disaster recovery, Bureau for Policy and Program Support under UNDP in New York, Nairobi, and other countries. And as a career in civil servant, he joined Maharashtra and held various positions in that. So these are two speakers, and I request my Shri Dr. Srinivas Reddy, Director of IICT, to introduce Sriram, and take over.
Thank you, Pradeep. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So before introducing speaker, let me tell you all that India is already playing a significant role in particularly in chemical sector. So it has the potential to become a consumption and manufacturing engine for the global chemical industry. That is for sure. I'm confidently, I can tell you that India is going to be a chemical manufacturing hub in the years to come. And just to talk about a little more details, Dr. Sriram, I'll introduce Dr. Sriram. He's a leather technologist by training. Presently, he's director of CSIR, Central Leather Research Institute, located in Chennai, that is southern part of India. And Dr. Sriram completed his doctoral research in leather technology at Anna University in the same city. And he joined the CLRI, Present Institute, in 2002 as a scientist, and he rose to the position of director of the same institute. His research interest includes leather chemicals and also sustainable leather processing. He has been the director of the same institute from December 2019. He's also a team director of chemicals, including leathers and petrochemicals, overall CSIR, including all labs. So with this brief introduction, I request Dr. Sriram to take over. Dr. Sriram.
So, thank you, Dr. Reddy, and all others. I hope the slides are all visible.
Yes.
On that note, I keep moving forward. So what I would like to present in the next 7 minutes or so is to take you through a journey of CSIR in the chemical manufacturing segment. So having said this, let me kind of emphasize that India, the history of India in the chemical sector was not so great till the World War II. But at that point of time, merely because of the need for the chemicals, heavy chemical and alkaline industries were set up because there was a deficiency in supply. Companies like Unichem, Chemopharmaceutical, Cipla, East Indian Pharmaceutical, etc., came into picture. But just about in and around the independence, 3 CSIR laboratories, CDRI, National Chemical Laboratory, and IICT, which was then called as the RRL Hyderabad, was set up to foster R&D in leather chemicals. So thereafter, the journey of Indian chemical sector was the journey of the CSIR itself. And we were talking about something like 120 crore rupees at the beginning of around 1955. And by 1966, thanks to the technologies from the CSIR, the total chemical sector of this country had already risen to 650 crores. This was predominantly driven by soda ash and caustic soda, petrochemicals coming in, companies like Hindustan Antibiotics, Indian Drugs Pharmaceuticals Limited, etc., set up to take over and take the technologies of CSIR forward. And subsequently, from then onwards, during the planned periods and post-COVID scenarios, the CSIR has been the biggest supporter of the chemical sector in this country. It would always be kind of a shortcoming if I don't come back and say that most of the chemical sector in this country is facilitated through technologies services from the CSIR. So around the 60s, we were predominantly talking about organic intermediates, dyes, and agrochemicals. And there were designed processes for upscaled processes from laboratories like the National Chemical Laboratory, NIST, Jorhat, and the IICT. The Hindustan Insecticides Limited itself was set up by the government to produce agrochemicals that were based out of CSIR technologies. There were organic building blocks that we had prepared in the laboratory scale, went on to develop it in the pilot scale within the laboratories itself, and take it forward to the industry, and thus building a self-reliance in these chemicals in this country. Now, around the 70s and 80s, the country started looking more towards reducing the imports, and therefore Atmanirbhar Bharat, or the ability to make chemicals within the country itself, came up. We were targeting low-cost generic APIs, which were not within the patent portfolios, and Cipla as a company became a torchbearer. We moved on to catalysis in CSIR. Most of our laboratories started looking at catalysis as a way of enabling the chemical sector. And we did bring about a lot of technologies like the benzene to ethanol and all those such of chemicals. We predominantly styrene precursors can be one of those chemicals that I should highlight, which ended up with the Hindustan polymers. And there was the scenario of the polymer science development in this country. One of those things which I should tell here is a Navaratna company, the Balmal Lorry, which was set up by the government of India, would vouch that this is one company which brought in the entire leather chemical sector into the country. Up till that, the 80s, entire leather chemicals were being imported, but Balmal Lorry entered into the leather chemical industry in the 80s, initiating production out of Chennai. And almost for a decade, they were manufacturing chemicals only that based off technologies from CSIR, predominantly from the Central Leather Research Institute in Chennai, and also based on consultancy activities that they had held with the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology in Hyderabad. So we also had the advantage of many of our entrepreneurs who were actually holding a PhD degree or a master's degree through CSIR, turning out to start chemical companies. I would vouch for a person whom I know personally, one Mr. Chellam Gopalakrishnan, who started a chemical company through a MTech project that he did with us. And now he's one of the most successful leather chemical manufacturers in the country. So having said all these things, the CSIR's planned activities in self-reliance include those of agrochemicals, pharmaceuticals, and smart chemicals. We launched mission mode projects to enable the Indian chemical companies through agro mission, where the comprehensive screening and formulation of facilities for crop protection chemicals was set up in our Institute of Chemical Technology, and formulations for sustainable release of the semio chemicals also began. In pharmaceuticals, we had the Improtonics mission, and around the COVID time, we also started looking at the mission APIs, and we also had a mission to develop anti-COVID drugs based on the large databases of formulations or chemical molecules that these institutions were holding. In terms of smart chemicals, already my colleague has spoken about the DSSC technologies and OLEDs, which we'll not highlight here again, but we do find that the smart chemical sector is one which has been tremendously supported by the CSIR systems. If I were to go into the agriculture side one more time, the agro mission resulted in several products. To name a few, those are things which you can find in on the slide. These are insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, and these technologies have either been translated to the industries or are readily available today from our laboratories. See, the biggest advantage of CSIR laboratories is that we can develop it not only at the lab level, but also to showcase it to you in the pilot scale levels, and also give you an engineering package by which you can upscale these products at the industry scales. So this is something which we are looking at to translate beyond India to other developing and developed worlds, wherein this package of the CSIR systems to provide you technologies on the chemical side is enormous. Some of these technologies which are now readily available with us is polyurethane, PU-based polyols, thermoresponsive small organic molecules, sitagliptin, darunavir, and such products which are readily available with us today for commercialization. And I take this opportunity to welcome the industries to discuss with us on how to take these processes and products from us for the future. In terms of research that we currently do, and let me close with this slide. Our focus areas are on 5 major segments, which are the agrochemicals and pharmaceuticals, where we work on the APIs, the IPM, the pheromones, flow chemistries, and process intensification. This is one segment where we talk about enabling your current technologies to be made into continuous processes or into flow chemistries, thus making it more sustainable. Fine specialty and performance chemicals, where we talk about functional coating chemicals, dyes and pigments, chemicals for leather, textiles, similar response, and construction chemicals is another area which we are trying to work on. Marine chemicals, we have a laboratory in Bhavanagar called as the CSIR, which talks about purity salt, fortified salt, potash from distillery ash, and so on and so forth. We are also talking about synthetic clays, water purification chemicals, and so on. You come to polymers, the National Chemical Laboratory in Pune enables you with all kinds of polymers that is possible, whether it is Kevlar or biodegradable polymers or anything that you are talking about. In terms of bulk chemicals, we have now started to look at the sustainability model, which is the biomass to chemicals or crude to chemicals, or even the C1 based chemicals. In short, I would close by saying that CSIR would be the hub for most of your chemical related technologies. And I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to look at CSIR as a potential source for your chemicals worldwide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sriram, for excellent presentation. Now I request Dr. N. Anandavalli, who is Director of SERC and also Theme Director of CIE, to give her presentation.
Yeah, whether my presentation is visible?
Yes, visible, madam.
And is
Dr.
it
Anandavalli, full screen, please?
Yeah.
Whether it's okay now?
No, not yet changed. And now it's fine. Yeah, please go ahead, madam.
Those who all present here, Vanakkam and Namaskar. So I'll be next few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so, I'll be talking on sustainability in construction and approaches to address the known challenges. As we all know, what are all the sustainable developmental goals is required. And the construction as itself, it is the top user of the natural resources. The first word sustainability comes to mind, both renewables, may it be energy or the sources, and the other one is circular economy. These are the two things which we can address while taking sustainability in construction. So being this civil infrastructure and engineering theme of CSIR addresses the infrastructure research and the developments and technologies towards that. So as we all know, the basic necessities, food, clothing, and shelter, and this addresses the shelter aspect of it. So the shelter should be safe, sustainable, and environmental friendly, as well as we need mobility in form of roads, bridges, railways, and waterways, which has to be planned and durable, and also monitor and mitigate the unwanted events, and automate and address the waste generation. These are two things which construction industry has to adopt to be to have faster development. So based on this, there are 7 verticals under which we work: the building physics and materials, rural infrastructure, mobility infrastructure and planning, automation and robotics, waste to wealth, structural health monitoring and life extension, disaster mitigation for infrastructure. All these address the sustainability in one way or other. So coming to infrastructure, we all know that is the most constitutes nearly 14% of the global GDP, and also the investment is so high, and there is also a need. We have to invest to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and also the housing sector itself takes so much of money also. So what we can focus on is in the sustainable infrastructure, and there are huge demands and there are enough opportunities to satisfy these demands. And what CSIR has the advantage is a complementary expertise, and we have the interdisciplinary approach to address these things. And we can act as a platform to synergize and channelize the expertise to address the SDGs. So there are 5 major laboratories under this theme, where CSIR Structural Engineering Research Center is where I belong to, and CSIR Central Building Research Institute and CRRI Central Road Research Institute, or 3 major civil-based laboratories, and Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute and Advanced Materials Processing and Research Institute. These are the 5 laboratories, and we address most of the SDGs, and in particular the clean water, renewable energy, innovation, infrastructure, and as Dr. Pradeep was highlighting, climate action, sustainable sustain. So coming to sustainability, what is the motto should be that we have to do not deplete the natural resources, while the adverse impact on the environment should also be kept in mind. And how we can do, how to preserve the natural resources is avoiding using the scarce resources, and creating less waste. That is one way we can address this sustainability, or using less, and using the reclaimed or the recycled ones, and the renewable materials. So these are the ways in which we can address the sustainability, because this is the need of the hour, because we have to have address these challenges and strive for a more sustainable future. And COVID-19 and other natural disasters have taught us what is the climate change, biodiversity loss, and geopolitical conflict and financial instability. All these, or some way or other, is sustainability comes into picture. So normally we have a linear approach, and our approach has to be a circular one. And we have to adopt this cyclic model of in the living world, like redesigning and rethinking the way we use the products. So philosophy should be no waste should be left behind, and also how we can use it in a circular form. So, and what are all the opportunities? If I see, there are a lot of opportunities for renewable energy sources, as well as what are from the recovery from waste, as well as effective utilization of resources and life extension. So life extension is one way of reducing the natural resources. And the thumb rules, if I see the sustainability issue, so one is on the input rules. So normally we neglect these things, like a harvest rate of the resources must be within the regenerative capacity of the system. And also the non-renewables, if you take, the rate of depletion must not exceed the rate at which it is ecologically sound. So there should be long-term resource substitutes or developed for this non-renewables. And if I see the output rules, the waste and pollution must not exceed the assimilative capacity of its bioregion, and it should not degrade future absorptive capacity. So what is the role of civil engineers or the structural engineers? As already highlighted, we are the maximum user of the natural resources, and also generate a lot of solid waste. And the global energy consumption is also more, and the gas emission is more. So it is our responsibility to address all these things. So how to bring in, we in the form of materials, sustainable materials. We have to choose the materials, and at every stage of construction, may it be feasibility, right from feasibility, design, construction, operation, as well as demolition, the sustainability should be our priority rather than the cost. So first is the sustainability. And also, if you see the water consumption, this also has to be taken into account. So one side is on the materials, the other side is on the design. So the structural systems should be selected in such a way that we are able to promote the sustainability. And environmental impact also will be improved if you choose appropriate structural system. As an example, this diaggregate structural system and innovation, which consumes 25% less energy than a conventional office building, and also it 20% less steel is used, and better performance. So such kind of structural system has to be used. What CSIR can do in this sustainable materials, there are various aspects. Carbon capture, utilization, and storage is one focus area, and net zero energy principles in both new and existing buildings, and performance-based service life design, and 3D printing, such new technologies to achieve sustainability, and new materials development, and re-engineering. We have to think the re-engineering to address the climate change, and new materials from waste, industrial waste. So say, for example, from the zero waste perspective, if I see the alternative materials to replace cement and sand, fly ash from, it's a waste from thermal power plant, GGBS from steel industry, slag from steel industry, paper industry, and other industrial waste can be used. So some of the developments in the CSIR towards this is special concretes. If you see, self-compacting, high volume fly ash, geopolymer, or textile reinforced concrete, these are some of the concrete which uses this sustainability concept, or recycled aggregate concrete. And also the industrial waste, as I already highlighted, fly ash, GGBS, and other things. And what the alternative aggregates and alternative binders are being developed in CSIR, and also how to reduce the material consumption. That is one aspect which is being addressed by using reuse structures or thin structures, and recovered materials throughout all stages of the program. So like a prefab or modular structure, and life extension, durability, and recycled aggregates. So construction and demolition waste is one major issue which we have to address. And right now, the CSIR has taken up a mission mode project on this particular aspect, waste to wealth, and one of the vertical is on the construction and demolition waste. So even though a lot of research has been gone into it, we should have a demonstration of a structure with fully made out of the C&D waste, which can be proof of concept, and this will enable the users to go into utilizing this natural recycled aggregate concrete instead of the natural coarse aggregates. And some of the technologies in terms of sustainability, one is on the steel slag road, which is utilization of the steel slag, which is a waste in construction of roads. And this is advantage of this is the reduction in conventional road thickness by 30 to 40% and construction cost also by 30%. By also it involves high durability and improved service life. This has been demonstrated at a few places in our own country. And geopolymer concrete pavements, again from the waste. And TRC, this is a textile reinforced concrete where the industrial textiles are used as reinforcement, and number of products and structural components are being developed at CSIR. And the bamboo as housing, that is another area where bamboo is used as this is a natural product, and which is also sustainable construction. And from Pirelli particle boards, this is from the agro waste, which creates lots of environmental hazard. Instead, we are using it in the form of boards which can be used for partition and other applications. And also based on the inorganic industrial waste, composite wood boards are developed. And conductive concrete using bagasse ash, this is another area where other countries will be interested, where this can be used in roads also and for corrosion prevention in other areas. And coming to the automation thing, integrated municipal solid waste disposal system, this is a development in the CIE team, which is again how to address the waste generation. And biobinder, this is also a product from the cooking oil, waste cooking oil, and it can be converted into a biobinder and an alternative for the natural other inorganic binders. And how to convert the sludge into bricks and tiles by firing technique. These are technologies available, and also the cementless brick products by compression molding technology, and fly ash technology, converting fly ash into ceramic tiles. These are some technologies in aspect of sustainability. Coming to the systems, this power emergency retrieval system is a indigenous development, which during the natural calamity, there is a disturbance in the transmission line, and this can be installed in a day or two, so the power can be restored temporarily using this systems. And the 3D printing that we are developing with plain as well as fiber reinforced 3D printing concepts, and this rheology-based structural buildability model is being developed. And coming to geopolymer foam concrete, this is a lightweight concrete which can be used as partition and other things where it uses the industrial waste. And coming to the energy dissipation system, this is a fuse link which is developed at CSIR, which takes up the energy of the seismic, and then the links can be replaced while the main structural members or there is less deformation or which can be reused. And together there are a number of laboratories other than what is in CIE team. We address a number of sustainable construction materials as already highlighted, and some of them are highlighted in this. Finally, I would like to conclude with a Tirukural, which goes this way: Ara yerke avan meetpin annilege pera yerke terum, which means that if we remove the undesired, unsatisfied desire, like we have a big desire, each one of us, like exploiting the nature for our own purpose. If we avoid that, the nature itself will give back. That is actually the sustainability. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Dr. Anandavali, for the detailed explanation of the topic of sustainability. Now I request Dr. Krishna Vatsa to deliver his talk on building climate resilient cities and communities. Over to you, sir. The PPT would be loaded.
It is being loaded.
Okay. Just a moment, sir. Okay.
No, sir, if you can load it from your side. It will become easy for you to change slides.
Actually, there is a format change, so it is better from headquarters.
Okay.
Just give me 1 minute then. Why don't you start that? Maybe, it will take some time because I was expecting that, it would be loaded from your side. So if it is not too much.
It's there. It's just coming, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I will start in the meanwhile, so I just would like to thank the director, CBRI, Professor Pradeep Ramancharla ji, for inviting me to this workshop. My presentation today is also about sustainability. It's more about how the cities could be more sustainable, they could be more resilient, and they could withstand the crises and shocks today. It deals with the urban resilience, and though resilience is a very big topic, we are focusing here on those aspects which relate to climate change, disasters, and various kinds of accidents that happen in the city, breakdowns that happen in the city. So one important variable that is affecting all the cities is the climate change. And as a result, we are seeing more and more incidents of urban floods. We are also seeing that cities are experiencing urban highland heat effect. Globally, the heat waves are affecting the cities, and the cities are becoming hotter, and the people have to find different kinds of coping mechanisms. Further, the cities are also threatened by the rise in sea level. And recently, we have also seen a massive breakdown of public health system when COVID affected almost all the cities. And in the built environment too, there are major sources of vulnerability due to a lack of code compliance. So these are various sources of vulnerability, and they are interacting with some underlying issues such as aging infrastructure, very dense population. We have also very overlapping kind of jurisdiction of different agencies, and the cities also are extremely unequal. So we have a whole lot of situations within the cities which make them very difficult to govern. And these factors are interacting with climate change and associated impacts. So it has become a very, very important public policy, and it's very important to think of various kinds of interventions to address these issues. And the presentation actually discuss some of these interventions, and would like to get more technical support from the CSIR institutions. So that's really the objective here. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the presentation discusses the disasters and crises, and so these are the issues that it focuses on: the flood management, where we will deal with the structural and non-structural measures; heat action plan, where we are dealing with both the preparedness and mitigation issues. We are looking at promoting infrastructure resilience, which means that cities need to be following the building codes and be consistent with environmental regulations. Cities also need to promote green buildings, which mean that we need to include the codes, standards, specifications, safety standards. We also need to pay much greater attention to fire safety, and we need to expand and modernize our fire services. And finally, we should also institutionalize urban resilience in municipal governments. So these are some of the important priorities. We will deal with each of them one by one. Very quickly, I will finish my presentation. The next slide. So urban flood management, right now the government of India is implementing a big program in 7 cities. This is just beginning. And Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Pune, and Hyderabad. Delhi is also expected to be added. And in this urban flood program, we are bringing together both the structural and non-structural measures. We are looking at all the organic solutions, nature-based solutions, how to revive water bodies, how to improve water conservation, how to link lakes, how to also increase the vegetation, holding ponds. So each city has its own kind of solutions, and we are promoting those solutions along with this many structural solutions, flood forecasting, flood early warning, so that through these cities, we develop a larger national framework for flood management. It's very, very important that we have a national framework for dealing with urban floods, given the incidents and the losses that are the country is incurring on account of urban floods. The next one. Heat action plan. I mentioned all the cities are experiencing excessive amount of heat, and now the NDMA has started this process of developing heat action plan for the cities. And we expect that in next 2-3 years, most of the cities will develop the heat action plans. Right now, we are just focusing on preparedness measures, but I think it will graduate to include mitigation measures also. So we would look at cool roof technology, rainwater harvesting, urban forestry, cross ventilation, so that we could reduce the temperature. We promote more energy efficient buildings. It's very, very important that we increase the public awareness, and we bring the awareness of various kinds of preparedness and mitigation measures for heat waves. The next one, infrastructure resilience. Again, this is an issue that came up in previous presentations. Our infrastructure urban infrastructure is growing. There is a huge amount of investment, but at the same time, it also raises the challenge of maintaining this infrastructure, building the resilience in this sector. We should prevent against the breakdown of infrastructure. So the government of India has set up the Coalition for Resilient Infrastructure. NDMA is mentoring this institution. It is a multilateral organization which is promoting infrastructure resilience across the countries. And so we are promoting the codes and specifications, and we are suggesting that at the design stage, we should consider the disasters and various kinds of risks, so that the infrastructure is robust and it really justifies the investment. So we have several knowledge partners, and we would like the more and more CSIR institutions to join CDRI as the knowledge partners. Next one. Now, this is another major program, National Earthquake Risk Mitigation Program, that we have just formulated. It will be implemented very soon, and it will be implemented across all the cities of the seismic zone 4 and 5.
Through this program, we are focusing on the implementation of building codes and building bylaws. So we work with the municipal governments, we increase their capacity. And for this, we have sought the help of CBRI. CBRI has been a long-standing partner working with us on improving the resilience in the built environment through better code compliance. So, and along with this, we would like to expand the capacity of earthquake engineering across the country so that we have more earthquake engineers, we have better courses, we have better practitioners. So that's another major undertaking for which we need the support of the CSIR institutions. Next one. The fire services and modernization and expansion, all the cities are very, very prone to fire occurrences. So the government of India has made an allocation of 5,000 crores just for expanding and modernization fire services. We have, so many tall buildings, which are difficult to reach in case of fire. So we are actually trying to build new systems through which we can cover all the tall buildings. We also need a very improvised system to reach the congested, densely populated areas. So again, through building codes, inspections, we propose to improve the record of the fire safety. The next one. Coastal cities and hazards. Again, all the coastal cities are extremely, extremely vulnerable. They are exposed to the risk of sea level rise, cyclones, coastal erosion. So now we are planning, we have implemented 2 phases of National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Program, where we are implementing the 3rd phase. And in the 3rd phase, we are trying to include all the coastal cities and the hazards which they are exposed to. And it is again a very large undertaking, and we need a lot of scientific inputs for dealing with the coastal hazards, particularly the coastal erosion. That is a very, very serious problem that cities are faced with. The next one. So urban governance, so again, all these measures that I have mentioned, they cannot be implemented unless, we have a system of governance that includes disaster management, that includes risk management. So we are, encouraging all the cities to set up disaster management authorities. They should have, professionally trained human resources. They should set up search and rescue units. They should expand their fire services. So it's very important that all the cities have full-fledged disaster management units, which through which they can address all their risks and vulnerabilities. Next one. So what we are trying to suggest through all these measures, all these programs that I have just presented, is that cities are vulnerable. They need a lot of planning. They need a lot of investment in urban risk reduction. And the government is very keen on expanding the institutional and technical capacity of urban governments, but it requires a huge amount of investment. So it means that we need to pool resources from different stakeholders. Private sector also needs to contribute. And it also requires that we develop different kinds of interventions for different cities depending upon their location and the risk exposure. We need large partnerships with private sectors, knowledge institutions, scientific agencies. So basically, the cities need very smart and intelligent plans to bring greater resilience for their citizens. And they definitely need to work with large number of academic and scientific institutions and knowledge partners so that they can develop and introduce and take the various solutions to a large scale. So this is all that I would like to say, that we are working on this, but we need a lot of knowledge and a lot of research inputs, and we are looking forward to greater partnership, collaboration with CSIR institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnavatsa. Yeah, before I take up few questions, I would like to summarize the session. So this session on chemicals and sustainable materials. So we had three very insightful talks on that by Dr. Sriram, wherein he presented the history of Indian chemical sector. So wherein the role played by CSIR and how India is playing a major role, and it is going to be a major shareholder of developments in this area. So he has highlighted the like agro, pharma, and smart chemicals. And our next speaker, Dr. Anandavalli, she gave details on a shelter, that is safe, sustainable, economical shelters, that is houses and other infrastructure, and mobility, and also how the approach from linear approach to circular approach, and the role played by CSIR in terms of like environmental sustainability. And she has given that input rules to output rules, elaborated on that. And then our last speaker, it is Dr. Krishna Vatsa, gave a detailed insights on how do we achieve urban resilience and overall disaster resilience. He has highlighted all the disasters and what is the role which government is playing, and the interaction with the CSIR laboratories and other research organizations. So with this, I would like to invite I would like to first of all thank all the speakers and invite a few questions. So I'll wait for maybe 30 seconds. Otherwise, I'll hand it over back to Dr. Rama.
Any question, you can also raise your hand. So it appears there are no questions.
I think, yeah, there are no questions. Maybe later, if we get questions, we'll respond to them by email or other channels. So first of all, I thank all the speakers once again for wonderful insights on the topics, and thank co-chair Dr. Srinivas Reddy. And I thank Dr. Rama and entire CSIR for giving me this opportunity to chair the session. So thank you. Over to you, Dr. Rama.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Professor Pradeep and Dr. Reddy, for chairing and co-chairing the session. We are running much behind schedule, but we'll try to make it up. Request the next chair and co-chair, Dr. Atul Narayan Vaidya and Dr. Prakash Kumar, to please speed up the proceedings of the third session on exploration and sustainable unearthing of treasures. Very brief introduction of our chair and co-chair. Dr. Atul Vaidya is our director of CSIR National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, and also the theme director for Ecology, Environment, Earth, Ocean Sciences and Water theme of CSIR, in which 34 CSIR labs are participating. Dr. Vaidya is a PhD in chemical engineering and has over 35 years of research experience in environmental science and engineering. He is actively working for Stockholm Convention, UNFCCC, and Minamata Convention. Dr. Prakash Kumar is our director of CSIR National Geophysical Research Institute. He is a PhD in geophysics from Osmania University. He is the recipient of many, many awards and recognitions, such as CSIR Young Scientist Award, Krishnan Gold Medal, and Indian Geophysical Union and National Geosciences Award. Dr. Kumar has published several research papers in renowned journals, including Nature, Science, and Nature Geosciences. With this very brief introduction, I hand over the stage to Dr. Atul and Vaidya and to Dr. Prakash.
Thank you,
Over to
Dr.
you, sir.
Rama. Thank you, Dr. Rama. Very good morning, afternoon, and evening to all participants. On behalf of CSIR, I welcome you all to this third session on exploration and sustainable unearthing of treasures. Session is dedicated to this topic and it indirectly covers sustainability goals 13, 14, and 15. This session is very close to the CSR theme on Earth, Environment, Ecology, Water, and Ocean. And there are 3 nodal labs, out of which one is National Geophysical Research Institute. Director of that lab, Dr. Prakash, is with me as a co-chair. And I welcome him also along with all participants, Dr. Prakash. Then there is another laboratory, that is National Institute of Oceanography, Goa, that is NIO. I think Director Sunil Kumar is right now not there in this particular gathering. I also, so these are the 3 basic laboratories which are involved in this theme. Apart from that, being a very highly interdisciplinary kind of theme, there are many other CSR laboratories which are directly or indirectly contributing to this theme. So I'm thankful to all those laboratories. And quickly getting into the session, I just have one small kind of introduction that land and water are the precious environmental resources which mankind has been exploiting throughout its historical developments. And due to overexploitation of these resources, we are facing many environmental issues, and we are basically getting into all these goals, and we have to plan everything according to that. And therefore, sustainable exploration, sustainable utilization, and reclamation of the spoiled resources is a major key to attain the sustainability in future. And precisely these 3 approaches are being covered in this presentation. Although we are working on many more other issues related to this, but to just represent these 3 approaches, 3 or 4 presentations will be there in this session from very eminent scientists who are experts in their own field, Dr. M.P. Patil, Dr. Narsinha Thakur, Dr. Chandrani Prasad Verma, and Dr. Pallavi Das. And without getting much delay, I will start presentations. I will request first Dr. M.P. Patil to get through his presentation. Also, I request all the speakers to try to curtail 1 or 2 minutes, because it's always the last session which has to suffer for the delays in the earlier sessions. But nevertheless, I will request all my speakers to be precise and to be concise and to limit yourself to the time limits. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Mahendra Patil.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Hope the slides are visible.
Yeah, get it into, okay, now it's okay.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. So I take this opportunity to present capabilities of CSIR in a very important area, that is land reclamation through remediation. So if we just look at the reasons what caused land contamination, so we all know the industrial revolution in India commenced after 1960. During this period, we started establishing our steel plants, refineries, fertilizer industries. So as we all know, when we do any industrial activity where we provide some inputs and energy and utilities, and we get some product. So in this process, we generate a lot of waste, either solid waste, liquid waste, or hazardous waste. So the main reason here is during 1960s to 1989, there was no regulation on hazardous waste or any kind of waste in India. Also, there was no awareness on the consequences of the waste disposal. Moreover, the infrastructure which is required for management of waste was not available. So all these factors resulted in unscientific disposal of hazardous waste and other waste from 1960s to 1989. The first regulation on waste management in India was enacted in 1989. And subsequently, we started developing infrastructures for waste management. So after 2000, year 2000, we had very good system for disposal of all kinds of waste. But before that, whatever waste were generated, that is from 1960s to 89, all these waste were disposed of unscientifically because there were no regulation, no infrastructure, and no awareness. This was the situation in many other developed countries. So main environmental impacts due to unscientific disposal of this waste. Primary impact is on groundwater contamination, because when the waste is disposed of on open land during rainy season, when the rain falls on the waste, the hazardous constituents present in the waste, they get leached out, they percolate the subsurface strata, and they contaminate the groundwater. Also, during rainy season, because of the surface runoff, the surface water resources such as lakes, river, they get contaminated. And since the waste is also in direct contact with the soil, the quality is also affected. Soil loses its fertility. So present status of land contamination, it is the Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. They have prepared an inventory of all such contaminated sites. And it is estimated that there are nearly 280 probable contaminated sites. Out of these 280 sites, almost 112 sites are confirmed contaminated sites, and studies are in progress by various State Pollution Control Board for the remaining 168 probable contaminated sites. Looking at the consequences of these contaminated sites, Government of India has initiated various programs through Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. They have initiated a project that is called National Clean Energy Fund. This Ministry of Environment and Forest through CPCB, they constituted a technical expert committee, and the CSIR is a part of this technical expert committee based on the expertise available. During this study, out of 280 sites, 8 sites were shortlisted based on the priority, based on the consequences, based on the impacts they were causing on the environment. And a study has been completed for this 8 sites. The study pertains to the detailed site assessment, and a detailed project report has been prepared for this 8 sites. So as I told you, CSIR was part of this technical expert committee, and CSIR has provided valuable guidance and expertise for preparation of these detailed project reports. Only because of the non-availability of fund, actual remediation has not yet taken place. As far as CSIR is concerned, CSIR over a period of time has developed capabilities in dealing with all such sites. The comprehensive approach which is required for handling management of this site, we need a preliminary site assessment. Here we need to study the history of the site, what was the industry, what kind of waste were disposed of, what is the present status, whether it is an active site, whether it is still releasing the contaminants, what are the environmental concerns. So over a period of
Dr. Patil, I think you have lost your connection. Rama, am I audible?
So, very much.
Okay,
Maybe
so I
we
think
can
Dr. Patil has lost his connection, or else can we take next one and request Dr. Patil to come later on?
Next one we can take, sir, please.
Okay, so I will request, because of some issues in the online things, we request next speaker, Dr. Narsinha Thakur to take over, and then I will request Dr. Patil to continue with his remaining presentation. So, Dr. Narsinha Thakur, please.
Yes. Sir, can you
be precise and try to finish as early as possible. Doctor.
Yes. Yeah, my slides are visible.
Yeah, they are visible. You can put it in slide mode.
Yes.
Okay. It is visible. Please carry on.
Yeah. Namaste. I'm Narsinha Thakur from National Institute of Oceanography, so CSIR Institute. So title of my talk is Sustainable Utilization of Marine Living Resources. So first of all, what are marine living resources? So marine living resources are all the creatures in the ocean as well as estuaries, right from microbes till mammals. And these are divided in 2 components. One is pelagic component, which is free floating or swimming in the water column. And other one is settled at the bottom. So those are benthic component of the marine living resources. So now question is, why marine living resources are important for us? First of all, they are doing a lot of ecological functions in the ecosystem, and which is connected to the our climate. Then also these are excellent resources for food, energy, biotechnology products, and are directly or indirectly linking to the economic development. And these resources are very well connected to blue economy. You can see the ecological functions. Then we have a lot of products and processes getting from these marine living resources. Now we have to manage these living resources sustainably so that we can cater all the products and processes arising from these resources. So now coming to the Indian scenario, here you can see we have 7,516 kilometers of coastline, which is almost 2.3 million square kilometer of exclusive economic zone, which is highlighted here. And almost 14% of our population is in the coastal districts of India. So here you can see the contribution of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research in Sustainable Development Goal 14, that is life underwater. The objective is conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable utilization. So left side, you can see the targets under these goals and our action plan and the R&D projects which are going on at CSIR institutes. So first one is reduce marine pollution. So we are working on microplastic, oil, heavy metal pollution, mapping, as well as mitigation. Also, we provide a lot of services to the stakeholders for safety assessment of their bioremediation products. Also, in the area of protection and restoration of ecosystem, we are working on coral reef areas where we are restore and develop artificial coral reefs. Also, we are working on acidification, ocean acidification, understanding ocean and climate change, and also the effect of ocean acidification on marine living resources. Then for fishery sector, we are providing ecosystem studies to support the prediction of potential fishery zones. We are mapping the biodiversity and involved in the conservation of marine living resources. And also there are R&D projects in different sectors. And I'll be talking about sustainable exploration of marine living resources, especially for bioprospecting. So here you can see the marine organisms, which are having a lot of applications, right from drug molecules, healthcare products, biomaterials, animal feed. But we cannot harvest these marine living resources in large quantities from the nature, so that we are there is a chances of extinction of these species from the nature. So we have developed a technologies or know-hows at the CSIR institutes where we can grow these cultures, that is a cell culture aspect, then mass culture in the open ponds, and also culturing of these potential marine organisms in captivity. So these technologies in the areas of exploration of marine animals, invertebrates and vertebrates, are with CSIR institutes. Then coming to marine microbes, which is the excellent resource for bioprospecting. Here you can see the applications of marine microbes. And these marine microbes you can find in different ecosystems, right from water column, various organisms associated microbes, as well as deep sea sediments. So now with the advances in the cultivation as well as molecular biological tools and also the omics technique, it is a bit easier for us to explore the potential of these living resources in a sustainable way. You can see that marine living resources, that is microbes, we can get from the sediments and the animals. We culture them under specific conditions, and these cultures through fermentation route, we explore further for bioprospecting. So these are the technologies or know-hows available with CSIR institutes, right from culturing of deep sea microbe, genomics and proteomics, fermentation technologies, marine nature products, and bioprospecting of marine microbes. So coming to the microalgae, this is a diverse group of photosynthetic organisms on the planet, and they are playing a major role in the ecosystem. So you can see the sources of the microalgae, and microalgae are excellent source for polysaccharides, proteins, pigments, and essential fatty acids, which are useful in food as well as in energy sector. So we have the capabilities and the infrastructure and the expertise available with us to cultivate these microalgae, then grow at large scale in the laboratory as well as outside the laboratory in the open ponds. And in a sustainable way, we are utilizing these microalgae for various products. And marine macroalgae, that is a seaweed sector. This sector also CSIR institutes are working right from their sustainable way of cultivation, and these technologies, cultivation technologies, are transferred to the self-help groups, and those groups are involved in the cultivation. And after that, the processing, that is a bioprocessing, and the product development also from the seaweed, also CSR institutes are involved. So these seaweeds are very much useful, are having applications in various areas like from hydrocolloids, food, animal feed, fertilizers, and the technologies right from cultivation to product development are available at CSR institutes. And finally, oceanography cannot be done only on the land. You should have a research vessels for this purpose. We have two research vessels. We are in CSIR, that is RV Sindhu Sadhana, RV Sindhu Sankalp. And both the research vessels are well equipped with the laboratories on board. And also we have all the necessary infrastructure for sampling up to say 2000 to 5000 meter depth. So this is all about our efforts, the efforts of CSIR institutes in the area of marine living resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Narsiha, for quick, very good thing, very good presentation for life under the sea and water. We'll quickly move to next presentation. That is by Dr. Chandrani Prasad Verma from SIMFER, Central Mining and Fuel Research Laboratory Institute. And she'll be working on, she'll be talking on the exploitation of deep mineral resources, opportunities and challenges. Dr. Chandrani, please. Dr. Chandrani?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please carry on.
Yes, sir.
And try to
I'm
be as
sharing,
precise
sir.
as possible, as concise as possible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You put it in slideshow mode, please. Yes.
Sir, is it visible, sir?
Yeah, it is visible and you are audible. Please carry on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Very good evening to all of you. And I would like to inform that CSIR is serving as a backbone to the mining industry and has contributed a lot in coal as well as metal mining sector. And right from the most popularly used rock bolting system in mines to high wall mining is introduced in India by CSIR. And today I am going to discuss a few things about deep mining, special reference to metal mining, the challenges we are facing, and the opportunities it generates. And the overview is the deepest gold mine in South Africa is at a depth of 4 kilometers, and chromite mine is at a depth of 1 kilometer. And Kolar gold mine in India, before being closed, it also reached to 3.2 kilometers. And right now, we are working in the range of 500 to 1000 meter depth. And a few major challenges we are facing is first one is transition crown design. Working an open cast mine right from the starting or an underground is easy, but when we have to shift from open pit to underground, we need a crucial crown pillar design, which is not available in the technological self, and we are working on this. Another is we have very good deposit of chromite, but it is very soft, and the limit by which it can be addressed or excavated by means of open cast mining is already reached, and we have no other option than to excavate it by underground mining. But no technology is available to excavate this soft ore by underground mining. Then the deposit, if it is too extensive, we have to divide it into different blocks by leaving suitable different kind of pillars, and methodology is needed to either to minimize it or to excavate it at the later stage of mining. Another is as we are going deeper and deeper, we are going to have high stresses, and many a times we met with fractured, weathered, and watery strata, and sometimes we met it with shallow deposit also. And in that case, support design becomes a real challenge. And at higher depth, rock burst is the phenomena which is associated with good rock mass. And definitely we have to work under very high temperature and humid environment, and maintaining a good percentage of oxygen and good velocity of air becomes a real challenge at greater depth. This is one particular case study where we have managed weak and weathered strata. The mine was already working, and to cater the need of production, they were sinking the shaft, and at 173 meter depth, they met with a very loose rock mass, and a fatal accident occurred, and the area of about 9 meter by 11 meter has fallen there. And then CSIR was approached to address this issue for next further levels. And at every 30-meter interval, they were making horizontal dry-bridges. Then we explored the details and we found that at 173-meter depth, they were having very less RQD, that was less than 25, which categorizes rock mass as very poor quality. And the same was we are likely to experience at 203-meter, where RQD is in the range of 0. And at another 300-meter depth, it was again RQD is 19. Then we explored all the details and existing mine. We did joint mapping and samples collection, and then using all this data, numerical model were prepared, and using the fall data, we calibrated the model and predicted the fall or the rock load height likely to be experienced in next levels. And we found that at 200 and 300 meter depths, we are going to experience the same fate. Then it was decided to meet this challenge through by consolidating the surrounding rock mass of the proposed excavation. And with the help of IS codes, we designed number of boreholes, and using pressure grouting, it is stabilized. And then with the help of this pressure grouting, we have completed shaft inset construction at 5 levels successfully. Already I have told that this transition crown becomes very crucial. If it is over designed, it leads to loss of pillar, a loss of ore. And when it is under design, it becomes unstable, and it damages the property, as well as it may lead to flow of water in case of rainy season in underground workings, and many such other issues. Sometimes we mine near the toe of this slope in underground and get it connected to the surface. That becomes very risky. And in technological shelf around the world, a very few approaches are available. And unfortunately, influence of open pit mine to a depth of 150 to 400 meter has not been considered, and CSIR is committed to develop this technology for the mining industry. And a detailed parametric study with the funding from Ministry of Mines is going on. We have covered all the depth range as well as depth width of the ore body. Here we have shown one particular case, and with the help of numerical models, we are able to get a few insights that stress ratio, that is ratio of horizontal to vertical stress, which may increase to 1 to 3 at higher depths, that destabilizes the rock mass. And overall slope angle, ultimate pit depth, and ore body deep, and presence of faults do have a significant impact. A few failure patterns have been identified, and we found that caving and unraveling are the most prevalent one. And we are still in the process of developing it, and with the help of Ministry of Mines. And a few challenges had been addressed by CSIR when we are, the first one, when we are working by filling in the stopes, we need, this paste fill is now very common, which is a mix of mill tailings, then utilizing the resources available with us with 5 to 10% of cement. But by having this successfully done, we need suitable design of barricade. And this has been done for one particular mine by CSIR successfully, and more is likely to come up. Then sequence of stoping, the second one, here you can see when the deposit is extensive, we have to divide the whole strike length. This strike length may extend from 200 meter to as long as 2,500 kilometer, 2,500 meter. In that case, we need to divide the whole strike length in different blocks and do numbering by which the nose pillar is under high stresses, or it should not collapse or burst. And that sequence of stoping is very, very important, and much work has not been done in this area. And for two particular mine sites, CSIR has done it successfully with the help of numerical modeling and the site data. Third one is, you can see here, the orange strips indicated here is all the rib pillars, crown pillars that has been left to isolate the workings from each other underground. And with the help of global stability assessment, we are able to mine it 50% at least. So that can be increased with further development in this regard. And in one particular mine, The crown, I have already told that the transition crown got punctured due to existence of shear zone in the ore body. And in that case, to manage the issue, we erected water dam in the upper level to prevent inrush of water inside the underground workings. Another is as we are usually in a shallow deposit, we used to develop the mine up to the bottom and then retreat up to the surface. That was quite safe. But now we are having extensive deposits, and at a greater depth, we are moving in top-down sequence by filling the upper level. And sometimes we are making excavations in such space-driven stopes. And these are nothing but mill tailings and a small percentage of cement. And it usually have UCS of 1 megapascal. And maintaining this drivages is a very difficult issue, and friction bolts are now being tried in this, and to some extent it has been useful, but still it needs to be developed. Then coming to the various areas where we can work together, that is developing the technology for software recovery by underground mining. Much work is still needed in case of stope sequencing under different geomining conditions, and methodology to develop the for transition crown design, as well as to recover such transition crown pillar at a later stage of mining. And once Chinese mine has done this for in case of gold mine, but that was quite cost intensive. We need to have a cost effective methodology, and the space fill technology is built at a cost of 150 to 250 crores. And to make it easily applicable, we need to make it cost effective. And we also need to work in the area of suitable support design in case of spatial drivages and weekend weather rock mass. And of course, a suitable ventilation network need to be developed for deep mining to improve the working conditions of the miners, and as well as the rock bus management. These were the few gray areas, and a few more are existing. And with this, I think I have already highlighted a few gray areas, but with the help of SIMFER, with the help of CSIR, we are able to help miners and the mining industry to excavate the deposits, and at least 2 to 5 to 6 million tons from underground, which is very high production from underground as compared to open cast mine. That's all. Thank you so much. Hello.
Sorry, I was on mute, I was on mute. Thank you, Dr. Chandrani, for nice presentation. Now we come to the last presentation of this session, that is by Dr. Pallavi Das. Dr. Pallavi, kindly share your presentation, please.
Yes,
try
sir.
to be very quick and brief and precise.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. So please quickly go through your presentation.
Yeah. Are the slides visible, sir?
Yeah, it is visible. It is in slideshow. Please start.
Oh, right. So very good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Namaskar. I'm Dr. Pallavi Das, and I'll be presenting on harnessing the potential of mine water for a sustainable future. So I'll just go over a brief overview. So I'll talk about mainly the potential of CSIR and the working in the domain of mine water, and 2 case studies and some technologies that are developed. So at first, to begin with, what is mine water? So mining operations, both in open cast and underground mines, like excavation, drilling, and blasting, they generate a huge quantity of groundwater that requires to be pumped out. And as a rough estimate, I've shown here some of the major mining companies of the country. They generate huge volumes of water per day during the mining operations. And the discharged mine water is not usable per se because it contains different cations and ions, in some cases, organic and biological contaminants, and also heavy metals and other contaminants. And also in some places, it is highly acidic. So every mine is a challenge, and every mine water is different because the quality of the mine water varies widely and depends on the geological, hydrological, and mining conditions. So now there are several problems like water contamination and depletion of groundwater table that are caused due to the discharged groundwater. And also, it is ironic that many mining areas of the country, they suffer from acute water scarcity. So at the backdrop of all of this, CSIR rightly identified the resource potential of mine water and focused on its utilization for societal purposes. But the work is, of course, interspersed with very difficult challenges. And in the next slide, I'll be showing a particular case study. So this is a success story where 3 CSIR labs had joined hands to work on converting mine water into drinking water. And of course, the water started with exhaustive physicochemical characterizations. And it also then started with technology development from laboratory scale and then prototype plant and finally pilot plant, which is also operational in commercial level. So the process that was developed to reclaim coal mine water is modular in nature. And of course, there was a holistic assimilation of different treatment blocks, which included suspended particulate removal, fines removal, heavy metal removal, and also ozonation for final purification. And what is interesting is the fact that this technology can also be applied to other mine waters, other coal mine waters, as well as to some metal mine waters with customizations. And so after the rigorous work, finally, as a part of the CSIR plan project, a 4,000 liters per hour mine water to drinking water plant was commissioned in Jharia coalfield, which is another region that faces great water scarcity. And currently, at the moment, also it is catering to the water needs of the people. And the current cost of production of water is pretty low, which is around 20 paisa per liter or 0.24 cents. But this can be further reduced if the plant capacity is increased and the plant is run for higher duration. So this is one such example where CSIR was able to solve a problem and also help the society. Now coming on to another interesting problem, which is the problem of acid mine drainage. This is a problem that plagues the Indian coal mines, especially in the northeastern India, which has high sulfur. And it also plagues coal mines and metal mines from around the world where there is pyrite deposits. So what happens here is the sulfur deposit that is there, it's mainly the iron pyrites. So what happens is when the mining activities will expose the pyrites to the atmosphere, so under the influence of air and oxygen, the sulfide becomes solubilized to sulfate, and that itself solubilizes the ferrous iron, and the ferrous iron is subsequently oxidized to ferric iron. And this is either spontaneous or there is a bacteria, Thiobacillus ferrooxidans, which catalyzes the process as it derives its energy from the oxidation. So what happens is this yields hydronium ions, as well as the chain ferrous-ferric conversion continues, and this decreases the pH of the water. There is sulfate, sulfuric acid forms, and usually when pyrite deposits are there are also a lot of heavy metal deposits and arsenic deposits, so that gets leached out. And so the water becomes highly contaminated. And of course, I've shown here, like this is a function of different factors. And what happens is, this is so powerful, the self-propagating reactions, it continues to take place years after the mining activity even closes. So with this backdrop, the Meghalaya Pollution Control Board, they approached CSIR and to develop a research project to mitigate the challenge. And of course, this is easier said than done, because the mines that are there in the Northeast are very, very different from the mines that are there in the rest of India. And as a project leader, I can tell you the entire approach of the mine is very, very difficult. The terrain is difficult. There are diffuse sources of mining. And you see that some of the pristine blue lakes that I've shown at the backdrop, they're actually contaminated with acidic water, and their pH is almost less than 3. So that makes the problem very difficult. Like I said, the matrix is very, very difficult. You have copper, magnesium, chromium, nickel, so many heavy metals. And to add to the problems, you also have aluminum. Now, people who are working in the domain of water treatment, they know that sometimes aluminum is added as a coagulant. But here, of course, we couldn't do that. Good for us. So what we decided was to sort of look at the problem from a different perspective and to utilize the contaminants to recover some value-added products. So we started our work with, of course, field studies and lab studies. So we worked on recovery of ettringite, which is hydrous calcium aluminum sulfate from the water. And also we developed these very low-cost functionalized adsorbents from waste paper pulp that has shown very good iron removal. And ettringite usually precipitates over a very narrow pH range. So we were able to work on that as well. And it becomes difficult when we are working on a prototype level system to have ettringite precipitation. So we worked around that as well. And then we also combined membrane separation for final treatment of the water. So with these steps, we were able to treat the water, and in lab level and also prototype level, we have demonstrated the technology. And now currently, we are designing a plant that is hopefully will be coming up in the outskirts of Shillong, a small demonstration plant to convert acidic water into water for societal purposes. So with this, I try to showcase some of the specific technologies developed by CSIR for mine water treatment, which are in like different stages of development. Some are commercialized, some are patented, some are on their way to become patented. So at the top, I've shown the pilot plant, which caters to the drinking water needs in the region. I've talked about it. And then is the proposed acid mine treatment, which I also have discussed. Apart from that, there are some other technologies like forward osmosis system, which is a very super low energy option that uses concentration gradient and also has shown broad spectrum removal of contaminants from mine water. Then there's another work which is funded by the Ministry of Steel, where we look into steel slag as an effective adsorbent, and it has removed very high amounts of phenol ammonia cyanide, the principal contaminants of steel effluent, and it's also removed fluoride, which is a major problem in a lot of mines of Bengal and Jharkhand. And also, apart from that, there's also work underway which uses zeolite. It produces zeolite from waste fly ash and then uses that in mine water treatment in a study sponsored by Ministry of Coal. So these are some of the ongoing as well as some of the developed technologies. Apart from that, there are some recent research initiatives. One is conversion of mine water into green hydrogen, and also recovery of rare earth elements from acid mine water. So the acid mine water is actually, though it's a very complex matrix, it's actually a potential hotspot for resource recovery. So these work in future, they have the potential to kind of be their game changers in their field. And these are the new initiatives. So with this, I come to an end of the presentation. If anybody has any questions, I would gladly answer. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Pallavi. Quickly summing up your presentation. Thank you really much. Thank you very much. And I think we have Dr. Patil. Could you join? Or somebody can admit Dr. Patil. He was left with only one slide. And if you can quickly go through that, then we can take up question and answers, because I think we are in almost in time. We have covered a lot of time which was actually delayed. Dr. Patil, are you online? Somebody can admit Dr. Patil if he's there. Rama?
Checking, sir.
Yeah.
No, no. So he doesn't appear to be there.
He doesn't appear. Okay. Anyway, then we'll request him not to join now, because it's already, we are running late. He was left with only one slide, which was, I can tell you that was depicting the mercury contamination remediation, which is going on under the guidance of CSIR right now. It was depicting that thing. Otherwise, he has already narrated all the capabilities of CSIR regarding the remediation of contaminated sites. So with this, we come to the end of this session. All four presentations were there, and I really thank all speakers. They could curtail some time in their presentations, and we almost finished in time. So now session is open to question and answers. Before that, I would like my co-chair, Dr. Prakash Kumar, to say a few quick words on the presentations, a quick kind of summary and quick observations, please. Yes. Dr. Prakash Kumar.
Yes, sir. I think, okay. Good evening, sir. First of all, my compliment to all the speakers for their excellent presentations. As we know, for continued development of any country, resources are the most important, and 10% of the Indian territory has been explored till now, only in the top surface or just below the surface. So sustainable deep resource exploration, mining is a challenging option, as Dr. Verma presented just now in a very nutshell. And advice also, we should also advise the mining, extraction of groundwater, be in land or be in marine flora, fauna, as Dr. Thakur presented in a very sustainable way. Another presentation by Dr. Patil, who presented the land reclamation in a very highly contaminated site using the CSIR technology. And Dr. Pallavi Das, she presented the harnessing of mine water for utilization in some of the mining areas of India. And so all these presentations and the fact looks like that the direction towards aligning with our mandate of SDG agenda. So it is the time for live sustainably and also consume reasonably. That's what we need to support: clean technology, invest in renewable energy also, like geothermal is also one of them. So encourage eco-friendly practices. So with this, I just thanks again to all our speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Prakash, and we can take up questions. Rama, can you see any questions? Anybody can raise hand. And Rama, please help us in identifying the questions, please.
So we have two questions. Mohit,
Okay.
please.
So we have two questions. The first one is from Ms. Sabha from Norway. She says, "So thanks for very informative presentations. With these activities, how is the groundwater level affected? Groundwater depletion seems to be a problem, as discussed in other sessions. Is India having deep sea mining activities?"
Deep sea mining activities. Okay, Dr. Narsingh Thakur, can you address this question regarding deep sea mining? Or Dr. Prakash, you can also answer if you know something.
I think he's asking deep sea water, no? Water mining. No.
Sir, I'll just ask her to talk and maybe she can present her question.
Okay.
Just a second. Ms. Sabha, you may please.
Okay, thank you. It's a very, very nice presentation. No, actually there are two questions. One is, of course, regarding the different activities and the way they affect the deep, actually, not the deep sea, but the groundwater level. You see, that's a big problem because it might lead to dryness. And the second question is, of course, quite a lot of activities are happening in the area of deep sea mining. That means they are looking for resources,
yes,
like rare metals and things like that. And one of your neighbors is very active in that area. So I am interested in knowing, with the long coastal area of India, is it a project, is it also in your focus area? Because it is a very, very big activity all over the world, you see. So these are two different questions. One is actually regarding the groundwater level inside the country, which might be a very problematic thing. The other one is, of course, is India looking into the possibilities of getting resources, minerals, and things like from using deep sea mining. It's a completely different technology. There are two different questions. Huh?
Yes,
Thank you very much. It was a very, 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 very interesting and informative session. Thank you. Okay.
Dr. Prakash, can you...
deep sea mining, I will say something, sir, because yes, as you rightly said, the in the deep sea, we have not explored much, but recently, Ministry of Earth Sciences has ventured into this this front. We should explore for the deep sea mining, because a lot of metals like cobalt, nickel, manganese, these are the things, and also some of the rare metals will abundant are there in the hydrothermal vents and ridges. So now I think we are going in this direction, and few of the CSIR labs are also taking part in this course. Like NIO Goa is there, because unfortunately that is not there. Otherwise, he could have explained in much detail. And NGI is also taking part in a small scale. And in the deep sea hydrocarbon exploration is also we are thinking from the CSIR side if it can be done. So metal is one thing is there. So the main part which we have started is by Ministry of Earth Sciences, and CSIR is also taking part in this.
Dr. Narsi wanted to add something.
Yes, here I would like to add that deep sea mining efforts are going on, and we have identified the area where the polymetallic nodules are present. But presently, the test before test mining, there is an environmental impact assessment is going on. So, what if we mine those areas? What will be the effect on the ecosystem? That is going on. If that is successful, and if we find that there is absolutely not much disturbance, then further steps will be taken.
Okay. Thank you. I will just add something to this quickly, because I'm leading the Environmental Research Engineering Institute here. Most of the projects, whether it is under sea, under the surface of Earth, or on Earth, nowadays all projects are to clear environmental impact assessment clearance. Number one. Number two, sustainability has to be worked out for all projects. And sometimes many of the projects, because they are not environment friendly, they are not actually allowed or permitted. So that is the rule, that is practice and rule being followed. That is number one. Number two, basically nowadays we are focusing more on environmental issues rather than economic and other issues. So it has to be environmentally sound and as far as possible sustainable operation, whether it is deep sea mining, whether it is deep earth mining, or anything like that. Question number two, which was asked about the water levels. Yes, water level, groundwater level was getting down in India. But now the very effective measures like recycle of sewage wastewater for industrial purpose, then water harvesting throughout the country in all cities and urban areas of country, and water conservation and finding out new resources of water. So this is actually basically we are trying to conserve the water levels, groundwater levels, and they are basically maintained. So there is a drastic change now, and then government is very strict, or regulation is very strict on the use of bore wells, and you can find that in many of the places bore wells actually are locked. Unless there is a proper permission from respective regulatory agencies, we cannot use bore well water for industrial purpose. So that is the way groundwater is being preserved, and water levels are being tried to maintain at certain levels. So a lot of efforts are being taken, and this problem will be resolved because newer regulations and newer actions are being taken. So that I can assure about that. So that was a question answer to another question. Any other question, Rama? Can you go through that, or we can wind up now?
Yes, sir. So one more question is there.
Yeah.
This is from Samit Chakrabarti. The question is, fantastic presentation about the work conducted by CSIR. Can we discuss how sustainable all of these developments are, since all the presentations dealt with solutions for current issues and less about how to ensure sustainability for future?
Exactly. So I will have a general answer for this. Specific answers can be given by the respective speakers in written in the mails. You can give addresses, exchange the addresses. As I said, any new technology or any new processes or any new project is to be actually assessed on the sustainability principles. And therefore, of course, there can be certain trade-offs depending on the demand, because we have a big population. We need a lot of resources for sustenance, only sustain, not for luxury purpose. So there can be a little bit of trade-off, but yes, all the projects which CSIR is doing, all the projects which most of the industries are doing, they are basically now worked out. At least we know what is the sustainability and what account sustainability is disturbed. So we are trying to cover up all those things, and this is a mandatory now. So that is worked out. But yes, there can be certain trade-offs depending on the demands and demands for the sustenance of the life, not for the luxuries. So that is what we are actually taking care of. So this is the general answer for this question. Actually, you can contact the respective speakers on mail, and they can answer specific to their technologies, what kind of sustainability they are working out. So is it okay from our side right now? Rama?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. There's more questions here from us.
So one general comment is there from Eno Ingam. He says JPI Ocean continues to explore the ecological impact of deep sea mining and a third phase of research, and he has shared a link. So maybe interested people can go through.
I think you can pass it on to NIO or Narsingh Thakur is there. You can pass it on to him and he can really answer on mail about his queries.
We have noted down this link.
Please,
We will go through
right.
it. Yes. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think Rama, we are through with time also, and we tried to cover up the session time which was delayed earlier, right?
Thank you very much, sir.
That's true.
Chair and co-chair, Dr. Reddy and Dr.
Okay. Thank you. Over to Rama now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So this brings us now to the end of this session of day 1. We look forward to meeting all the participants and their colleagues and friends on the second day of the event on 28 September 2023. I request my colleague, Dr. Yatendra Satija, to please propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of the CSIR, I thank you all for joining the session today. We hope that the interactions and deliberations today have been insightful and useful. We welcome collaborations in these areas and look forward to our future interactions. I take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the organizing committee of SSUNGA 78, especially Mr. Declan and Ms. Pillar and their entire team. We thank the DG CSIR, organizing committee members at CSIR, all the session chairs and co-chairs, speakers and participants. And we welcome you to our second day of event, 28 September at the same time, 7 a.m. EDT, 4:30 p.m. IST, which would be focusing on societal and rural development efforts of CSIR. Thank you. Wish you all a very good day ahead. Namaskar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.